It being 6 o'clock, I call the December 2023 Town of Clayton Planning Board meeting to order. I'm James Moore, the chairman of the Town of Clayton Planning Board. This planning board is composed of volunteer members of the public appointed by the Clayton Town Council and is responsible for providing recommendations on key amendments to the zoning and code of ordinances, including text amendments, rezonings, and conditional zoning districts. Any decision made here tonight is a recommendation for the town council and ultimately would be decided by that body. While we welcome public involvement and discourse, please wait until invited to speak by the chair. Prior to addressing the board, speakers are asked to provide their full name and address. Speakers will be allowed a maximum of 3 minutes and may be asked to stop if they go over. May we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. May be seated. Are there any adjustments to the agenda?
There are no adjustments, Chair Moore. I was just wondering if we can maybe do a quick roll call for the record.
Yes, sir.
Chair Moore.
Present.
Vice Chair Powers.
Here.
Board Member Applewhite.
Here.
Board Member Dupree.
Here.
Board Member Lee.
Here.
And Board Member Williams.
Here.
Chair, we have Board Members Begley and Lipscomb are absent today. And we do have a quorum.
Yes, and Board Member Spence.
We do have 6.
We have enough.
Yes, Board Member Lipscomb, Spence, and Bagley are absent. They all notified me that they would be absent tonight.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. The next item on the agenda is approval of the minutes. The minutes were mailed for September the 25th, 2023 and November the 27th, 2023. Did the board have an opportunity to review the September the 25th, 2023 minutes?
Yes.
I'm assuming we can make a decision as a board by consensus first to approve both, or do we need a separate motion for each?
I would recommend making a motion for each.
Okay. I would entertain a motion for the September the 25th, 2023 minutes.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Board Member Dupree to approve the September the 25th, 2023 minutes. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Board Member Powers. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Say no. Motion passes. Has the board had an opportunity to review the November the 27th, 2023 minutes?
Yes.
I will entertain a motion to approve the November the 27th, 2023 minutes.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Board Member Lee to approve. Is there a second? Second by Board Member Williams. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say no. Motion passes. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is public hearings. Item 4A, 2023-126-CZM Pond Street duplexes conditional rezoning. Presenter is Stephen Mott, Planner 2.
Good evening, Chairman Moore. I'm here to present Pond Street duplexes. It's item number 2023-126 CZM. It's conditional zoning. This is a little bit different than other conditional zonings that you may have seen. As you're familiar with, we changed conditional zonings to allow for a range of different uses. And this is a smaller conditional zoning project. It's for the rezoning of 2 parcels from R6 single family zoning to a conditional zoning residential district. The applicant is looking to construct two-family structures for a total of 4 units. So it'd be two duplexes on 2 parcels totaling 8.77, or at a density of 8.77 units per acre. The parcel size in total, with both in consideration, it's 0.456 acres, and the location is at 914 and 916 Pond Street. Here you have the overall site plan. I chose the page with the landscaping shown there, showing the perimeter landscaping. The access to it, if you'll see, is it connects to Durham Street right there, which connects to US 70 Business right there. Water is through the town of Clayton, as well as sewer, and electric is also through town of Clayton. You'll see the existing zoning surrounding that. To the south, it's PDR, Plan Development Residential, which is Bristol. Surrounding elsewhere, it's R6 zoning, which is our most high-dense exclusionary zone for single-family homes. With the stormwater, it will comply with the Town of Clayton Stormwater Ordinance. Again, the public water and sewer is available on through the Town of Clayton on Pond Street, and the electric service is through the Town of Clayton. The development, again, is accessed from local streets adjacent to US 70 Business, and due to the size of the development, no transportation improvements were requested or required. A 15-foot wide Type C opaque landscaping buffer is required. The opaque aspect of it being the 6-foot vinyl fence around the side and rear along the project boundaries, and any interior landscaping will meet UDC requirements. For the architectural standards, we did work with the applicant to get brick or stone, so some masonry elements on the front facade at 25% minimum. The siding, trim, shutters, and roofing, or exclusive of roofing, will be vinyl. And I do have the draft elevation, and this was submitted before we discussed the masonry elements. The applicant will be able to speak on that after the presentation, if you so choose. And so the conditional zoning district criteria, the consistency with adopted plans and policies of the town. The 2045 growth plan identifies a majority of the development site as high-density residential, and it does abut an area marked as medium density residential, excuse me. The development, while less dense than that proposed in the future land use map, is complementary to existing neighboring lower density single-family residences and eases the area sort of into slightly higher density or gentle density. The development does promote the 2045 growth plans, land use, and housing goal LU3 and LU4. LU3 encourages a range of housing types and lot sizes. Sorry, I believe that's a typo there. That fulfills the need of housing for various income levels, family sizes, and ages. And LU4, which provides for safe, sound, and well-maintained housing in neighborhoods. Regarding the suitability of the subject property, the property is currently zoned as single-family residential 6 or R6, which is the town's most dense residential district, exclusionary of non-single-family residences. Staff believes that the proposed project promotes suitable development considering the future land use map and promoting gentle density in infill lots, making use of underutilized parcels to grow housing opportunities. Regarding the balance of uses, meeting a specific demand in the town, The proposed development utilizes infill lots to meet the town's housing need, and it introduces an alternate type of housing in that area, considering the immediate vicinity while also keeping with the character of the area. The capacity of adequate public facilities and services with the schools, it is served by Johnston County Schools, in particular East Clayton Elementary, Clayton Middle, and Clayton High. Clayton High School is on the county's capped list for 2024. Regarding the roads, again, the development is accessed on local roads, particularly Durham Road via US 70 Business. The developments will be served by existing wastewater treatment or wastewater sewer infrastructure. Public water is available on Pond Street, and the development will again follow town stormwater ordinance. Regarding the legal purposes of zoning, they are not contravened. All town ordinances, procedures, and approvals will be followed. No adverse effects on adjoining property owners are foreseen. However, in the event of unforeseen or adverse effects, the benefits of meeting the demand in housing while promoting infill development outweigh concerns for unforeseen adverse effects to arise. And while the owners or developers may benefit from the development, staff believes that with the proposed conditions, there will be no detriment to the general public. And regarding the approval criteria, staff does believe that the applicant has met criteria through the site plan, conditional zoning narrative, and proposed conditions. And considerations for the planning board. You shall make a recommendation on the application to town council. The planning board's recommendation shall include a written statement to the town council describing whether its recommendation is consistent with the adopted plans and policies of the town. If you do fail to make a recommendation, the town council may proceed with the request without a recommendation. If approved, the conditional zoning district, master plan, our conditional zoning plan and narrative will be recorded with Johnston County and shall guide future development for this land. The conditional zoning district, master plan, and narrative shall not expire and will run with the land. And you may recommend conditions be added or removed, and the developer must agree to any imposed conditions. I believe you all were handed a statement sheet. So based on the proposed conditions of approval for the rezoning requests in consistency with the property's future land use map, classification of high density residential, staff is recommending approval per option 1 of the provided consistency statement sheet, subject to the 11 recommended conditions of approval, which are outlined in the packet. And I'm also happy to go over those conditions as well. And the applicant, of course, is here if you have any questions as well.
I'd like to ask a question. You mentioned that these lots are R6, which is the smallest residential lot that the town has. It's supposed to be mid-range houses. That is for one house, and this plan is putting 2 houses on that. Admittedly, they're right next to each other. The elevation view that came with this packet was not as complete as it could have been. It did not have the width of the houses just scaling off of there, and I feel sure that it is to scale. It was roughly 18 feet outside to outside of the, on the houses. is this all being taken into consideration, that the fact this lot was originally meant for one house, and now we're going to put two on it? And are these houses going to, are these individual houses, how many square feet are in the house? Or what's the size of everything?
Yes, sir. I'll let the applicant speak to some of that. I will say that the applicant has provided a minimum lot size of 8,000 square feet, which is 2,000 square feet above the minimum for that existing zoning. I'll show that. Sorry. Right.
I was just going by what you had said in
Yeah,
your
absolutely.
informational thing there, that it has been
Right.
R8, R6.
Right, that's correct. R6 doesn't allow duplexes by right, so this conditional zoning would allow those. Yes. But if you would like to direct any of those questions to the applicant, I'm sure they would be happy to answer.
Any other questions, staff? Okay, we're not hearing from the applicant.
Thank you, Stephen. Good evening. I'm Donnie Adams, professional engineer with Adams and Hodge Engineering, 314 East Main Street here in Clayton. Our firm is handling the civil site planning and engineering on this project. And I appreciate everything Stephen added. I'd be glad to address your questions. Would you mind repeating them, maybe one at a time, and then I'll do my best.
Okay. Started off with each lot was termed R6, which is the smallest that the town has. And each lot originally was intended for one house. And we're putting two houses on each lot. I guess my question, and as I said about the elevation, it had some measurements on there. It did not have the width of the house. And scaling off of there and going by some of the measurements on there, the way I got it, the width of the house was, excuse me, roughly 18 feet outside to outside of the house, meaning that the inside would be at most, say, 17 feet. And is that, you know, if it was intended for a single house, and now we're putting two houses on it, how many square feet are going to be in this house? I realize it's a two-story house, but I don't know that neighborhood as well as other neighborhoods maybe, but I'm assuming that somebody could have bought one of those lots and put a two-story house up on it, and that theoretically would fit in with the rest of the neighborhood. I'm just concerned about is that going to be noticeably smaller, each of the four houses that would be going up there, than what are in the neighborhood?
Okay, all right. So, number one, I don't have information on the proposed square footage for each one of those units. I've seen the elevations provided by the developer, and I believe that they are going to be consistent with what's in the neighborhood, mostly more consistent with the most recent builds at the end of Pond Street in the newer neighborhood, two-story homes. So, and this is going to be a duplex, so there's going to be two structures. If this is approved, there'll be two structures built, two units on each lot, but two structures, one structure on each lot. So I think from the street, and I think it'll look no different than the other houses, except you got two front doors coming off of it versus just a typical one front door. But I do not have information on square footage. I'm not aware if there's a code requirement on that. Okay, I don't have that information. If I did, I'd be glad to share it.
My concern was just that the original design for the lot, for those lots along the street there, were for single-family houses. And now, we're not, it's not like we're combining a couple of lots and then putting multiple houses together. We're taking one lot and putting two houses on it. Not houses, but a duplex that's together. And I was just wondering about that, especially not being able to see what the width was according to the designer and like that. That's the only thing I was asking about.
Understand 100%. Yep. The two lots that are existing there, basically 10,000 square foot lots each. So this residence, this structure is going to sit basically right in the middle of those. So effectively it's becomes two 5,000 square foot lots. If that makes sense, but still just one structure in there from the street. Again, I believe it's looks similar to to a single family detached setup versus these are single family, but a single family attached.
Thank you.
Okay. Be happy to answer anybody else's questions, or if I didn't answer all that you did have.
No, that's fine, sir.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions? On the, so there'll be 8, I thought, I read, there'll be 2 parking spaces per unit. So with the 4 units, it'll be 8 parking spaces. Are there any extra parking spaces for visitors? Just the 8? 2 per unit, so it'd just be the 8 parking spaces?
That's correct. That's correct. That meets code requirements, 2 spaces per unit.
Okay, so no extra spaces?
No additional spaces provided.
Okay. All right. And I know we have a whole new planning staff. It seems like every 2 or 3 years, we start all over again with this issue. And it just seems like and I know parking is, when we approve units like this, and it's always going to be not enough parking, and then the neighbors are complaining, and here we go again. And if it's 3-bedroom units, and the first thing you're going to say, well,
Yep. 3 people, 3 cars.
yes, probably going to be 3 cars, at least one of the residences, and then where are the visitors going to park, and then we'll get yelled at, or the town council will get yelled at. How did we approve it? And the planning staff is new again, so it seems like we take 2 steps forward and then we take 3 steps backwards. It's just an ongoing issue with the town. When you build a unit like this, it's almost, we created a small multifamily housing, and this multifamily housing unit will not be able to cover the parking, all of the parking. I know don't get me wrong, it meets the standard, but the parking, it will not be able to handle the parking on the property. And we're going to approve it, and I already know that it won't be able to handle the parking on the property. It can't, not with 8 spaces. And that's the sad part. And I've seen it happen over and over again on this body. That's just my input. It's just a quagmire on something that I know mathematically it's impossible to handle the parking of all of the residents and their guests after 5. 8 spaces can't do it. It can't happen on that property, but it is what it is. Thank you. Appreciate it. Hold on. Any other questions for the applicant? Thank you. Yes, sir.
I'll have a question. So I appreciate and understand your comments. I just want to follow back up with it. When you talk about parking and it not being able to handle it, again, we're providing the code requirements. And I know you know that, but just for this particular project, weighing it on a standard that we meet, just wanted to have Stephen make sure that I'm on board, that this is, these are 2 spaces per unit parking requirement. So I just wanted to restate that we do meet parking requirements, and the parking requirements would be no different than they would be for single-family detached, 2 spaces per unit.
Thank you. Is there a member of the public who would like to speak on this issue? Yes, sir. Please come up and give your name and address.
Hello. My name is Max Neal. I live at 913 Pond Street, right across the road. I just moved in September, and I agree with you about the parking, because the duplex next door has 7 cars for 1 duplex. So, I mean, and people across the street already park in the street, like the family directly across, they already park in front of that. So now people are going to park in front of my house or even down the street. So I agree with you there. I also think when you lead to something like this, they're going to pop up everywhere. And then all of the people who have lived on the street for 40 years are now moved out, especially the people next door who will probably get priced out. So I just think it takes away a little bit from what Clayton is and what we're not, Raleigh and Chapel Hill and all that. So that's just my input.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
I'll now turn it over to the board for discussion.
This seems to be not unusual. It seems to meet the code as the engineering firm has said of the town, and we see the results of meeting certain parts of the code as we've been talking about with the parking and with the spaces and stuff like that. And as Mr. Moore just said, we're kind of in a tight spot. If it meets all the code, we're supposed to pass it. If it doesn't work, we're not supposed to pass it. If both of those are true, what do we do? Do we decline it on those grounds? it meets all the codes. And as I said, this is not the first time this has happened, and I'm sure it won't be the last.
If I may respond to you, on the consistency statement sheet that was given to you, it offers 4 different options. One is to not recommend approval. Well, there are 2 different statements where in a scenario where you wouldn't recommend approval, and one would acknowledge that it is consistent with the policies of the town, and one would state that it's not consistent with the policies of the town. So you can recommend to not approve the item and say that it is consistent with town policies, or you can say that it's not. And I can pull up the sheet as well.
Excuse me. I think everybody has a copy of that. Now,
Perfect.
we just got it when we walked in the door, so I'm not as familiar with it as the rest of the packet stuff. But I can appreciate that, but it doesn't give us a firm place to stand. Because if it, as you say, if it does meet all the codes, we're supposed to pass it. And the only reason we would not want to pass it is because of past experience.
But I think what he's saying, if you take an opportunity to read option 3, just if you read option 3 thoroughly.
The one question I would have on this option 3, and it's just at the start of it there, it says that it meets the future land growth, the land use map. And it also says this property is classified as high-density residential. When you explained everything, you said it was classified as medium residential.
Sure.
If I may, so
Yeah.
yeah,
Yes, sir.
yeah, board member Powers. So that option 3 right there is might need to include a word that says while it's consistent with the comp plan, you can still recommend denial. So in that motion, option 3, it says I make a motion to recommend denial of this rezoning request, while it's consistent with this future land use map. So even though it's consistent with the future land use map, the planning board can entertain a motion that still recommends it to be denied. And the action is reasonable in interest in the public interest that the requested rezoning is incompatible and the current zoning designation is preferred. So that option 3 is meant to say, even though it's consistent with the future land use map, this board still recommends that the project be denied based on the existing zoning is what we prefer, and it's incompatible with the surrounding land uses. So it would be just a typo correction to help alleviate that confusion on that option number 3.
Okay.
the board can do whatever the board wants to do. I know the problem. I mean, the problem is there's never enough parking. When I had 3 kids at home, I got a big driveway. I didn't have enough parking. We're playing musical cars all day long, moving everything around. I think if there's a problem with parking, that's a code issue that could be addressed at a future time, but I don't think you should penalize a builder or developer for adhering to the policies that are in place. They don't control the policies, and so I don't think it's fair to expect them to solve our problem when they're operating within the confines of the code as it's written. So I personally am in support of it, just because I don't think we can deny it for that reason.
That was exactly what I was saying. If it meets all the codes, we're supposed to approve it, regardless of what we may have experienced in the past.
That is their motion.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve or recommend approval to this rezoning request based on consistency with the future land use map in the adopted 2024 or 2045 comprehensive growth plan. This is, in fact, the property is classified as high-density residential, and the future land use map goal LU3 encourages a range of housing types and lot sizes that will meet the needs of various income levels, family sizes, and ages. Goal LU4 provides safe and sound, well-maintained housing and neighborhood. This action is reasonable and in the public interest, and that the comprehensive growth plan encourages residential uses in this area, and the request is compatible with the existing zoning and land use in this area.
We have a motion by Board Member Applewhite. Is there a second?
I second.
We have a second by Board Member Williams. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No. Motion passes. Next item on the agenda is 4B, 2023-176-RZ, Clayton ABC Store Rezoning. Presenter, Stephen Mott, Planner 2.
Thank you, Chairman Moore and board. This item, Clayton ABC Store Rezoning, project number 2023-176-RZ. It would look at rezoning the subject parcel here. It's so fancy, I can't not use it, right? Well, I mess up. Rezoning that from O&I, Office Institutional, to Highway Business, which is B3. The property size is approximately 15.76 acres. The existing use is vacant. The location is 8175 US Highway 70 Business West, Clayton, North Carolina 27520. And as you may be familiar, that's the Walmart with the town center development. The current zoning, you'll see there, it is the lone O&I parcel there amongst the Red Sea of B3 with the bit of RE to the north. It would be a bit more congruous with B3 zoning, as you can see demonstrated in that proposed zoning map. With the consistency and compatibility, it is in the high density residential area in our future land use map. However, it is also in the community center overlay, and that encourages certain commercial developments such as grocery stores, retail, restaurants, service, along with limited civic and institutional uses. So based on the surrounding commercial types and land uses surrounding the property, and seeing that the rezoning request is consistent with the property's future land use map classification of high density residential within the community center overlay, staff is recommending, again with a separate consistency statement sheet, the option 1, which is recommendation of approval and that it is consistent with the town's policies and plans. I'm here for any questions, of course, and the applicant is also present for any questions.
Thank you. Any questions of staff?
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
So this is the same road that we talked about a few months ago, where they're building all the new homes and townhomes behind the Walmart,
Yeah.
right? And so I was concerned then was how people gonna get in and out. So if you have the ABC store there, there's more traffic coming onto that road when people trying to go up and down to get out on 70, right? Did we ever decide that they were the developer that for those homes, were they going to widen that road or do something there? Stoplight or do something different?
So this is just a rezoning.
Yeah, I was just, there were questions, I understand.
Yeah,
that we're just talking about this.
Okay, yeah.
But I'm just trying to get in my mind, what I see here, I think that that house and development that we've talked to them about, was them to do something to this road, right? So I think that was my question. My only concern is people turning out, trying to get out on 70, people coming out of there.
Right.
So I was just wondering if it was going to be wider, if you knew. It was just a question.
Personally, I'm not knowledgeable of any improvements that are proposed for that. However,
Okay.
there could be.
Do you know if there's going to be a cut onto 70 from this property, or is it going to be onto financial?
In discussions with the applicant, and they may know better, they're discussing that with NCDOT. So I couldn't say whether or not that would be occurring.
One thing I would say is that the location of this one is very much improved from the location of the existing one, because going west on 70, you have to turn back and around and go back and forth and like that to get in here, and then getting out, you're doing the same thing. If this is on this road, at least you could go right back down through the Walmart street section there and get out onto 70. But
Yes, and in our recommendation, we reference policy land use 1.6, which promotes the location and intensity of development that mitigates impacts to the transportation network and leads to reduced vehicle trips and or shorter trip lengths, enhanced circulation, and increased public safety.
All right, thank you. Any other questions? All right, thank you.
Of course.
We're now hear from the applicant.
I'll break that. I'm afraid of that technology. I'm sorry. Gary McCabe, professional engineer, engineer of record on this project on behalf of the applicant, which is Johnson County Board of Alcoholic Control. Did want to point out two small things. Property size is not 15.76, it's 1.63 acres. I think that's the property acreage for the adjacent parcel. I did want to point out, Mr. Williams, to your point, the ABC store is currently 600 feet away, and it is a nightmare to get in it and out of it, and recently had an 8-car pileup. That's the reason we're moving to this location. It is a much safer location. That piece of property sits so far off the road, and there's only 16 or 17 parking spaces. We've got people in high season, the height of the selling season, the holidays. There are people lined up on 70, and we're going from, my preliminary site plan now has like 40 parking spaces, which is much better, much more improved for access purposes on 270. We are currently negotiating that with DOT. We know that we will have a driveway off the internal road. We would like to get a right out for trucks because it is a small parcel, and you can't get a truck to do a 180-degree turn and come back out safely. But we could get a right out. That's what we're trying to negotiate with DOT currently. This is the first step in that because it's O&I, and O&I doesn't allow retail. So, we have to rezone it first and then we come through with the site plan. But I did want to address your question regarding traffic. The whole purpose of this move is to make it safer because we have experienced that issue, and we don't want to continue to experience it. So I'm here if you have any other questions regarding the site. It's still very much in the preliminary design stages, but I'll tell you as much as I know at this point.
Yeah, I appreciate that. But I agree, it is a better spot. My only concern was that the road would still be a one-way in, one-way out when you're turning. And then, someone trying to come out to get on the 70, now people are just almost hitting each other coming out of Walmart. So it's not just the ABC store, it's the other developments that we've already approved behind that. So that's what my question was. I thought that we had agreed that they were going to at least widen it or do something. But if you put yours there, then there's really no space that I can see to be able to widen that road. So I'm all for it moving there. I was just asking the question for safety.
Well, and one thing to point out is Town Center does dead into the property adjacent to us. And as my understanding, in the future where you see Gateway coming across, there will be a road there that will eventually connect that larger parcel. This will open up the opportunity, hopefully, for that larger development to occur. We're right in the middle of where they need to put a road currently that would connect to all this and all what you're talking about and make the whole thing comprehensively better. But we've kind of we've got a chicken or egg this thing.
I understand. Thank you so much for explaining that.
I have a question though. Follow Mr. Williams. So your access will be from financial?
Yes, sir. We've met with the town town staff already had a pre-application meeting, and that's what we proposed. We're pushing it as far away from the travel lane on 70 as possible. Right now, our driveway is about 250, 260 feet away from the travel lane. So it's on the very southern portion of the site. So the building would be pushed towards the road, so that the drive aisle is behind behind the building, not between the building and the road, because it again makes it a safer traffic movement.
And your hope is to get DOT to allow you a cut, I'm assuming at the far. That'd be the east end of the property.
Yes, sir. There's already a driveway there now.
Right.
And we'd like to narrow it down and choke it down at an angle so that it deters people from trying to go past and turn in. So we're working with DOT on that. So but hopefully we're also going to have to stub to the adjacent parcel for cross access. So hopefully the other development comes through and we can tie onto that as well.
Because I can see what people will do here is once it's there, if you do have a cut, which I think you need one, but if you do have a cut, then you're going to have people, when traffic starts backing up, trying to get out, you're going to have people try to cut through the ABC store and cut out the other way to go east.
Yeah, we can't prevent them from doing that. But I will say that cut does exist today.
Yeah, that's true.
So if they're doing it today, they're going to do it tomorrow.
My question is, the charter school around 245 to 315, it already backs up tremendously on financial, and then they cut across Town Center to go to the other exit. So I know you're just trying to get it rezoned, but I see Mr. Williams' questions with that other redevelopment. If we don't coordinate these projects, we're talking about a nightmare. At least Monday through Friday. And during the holiday, like you said, during the holiday, you're talking about a nightmare. That's a choke point that we already see.
Works at 245.
Chair Moore, if I could add a point of clarification, just since this topic has come up. The development that you previously saw proposed surrounding the Walmart that had the multifamily
Right.
housing, that application was actually pulled before it proceeded to town council.
Oh.
So not to say that this isn't a valid issue discussing the traffic in and around this current development, but at least it's something that could be coordinated with future development that occurs.
Okay, Mr. Williams. Thank you, Councilwoman Archer, for that.
Well, I've also got Mr. Chad Stewart here from the Johnson County Board of Alcohol Control. He can speak to, the operational hours and things of that nature, because we're not even open during the peak morning hours, the peak trip hours of the morning. And, this is not a high generator in the evening hours either. So I don't feel like there would be a conflict. It's not like 2:45 is a high peak time for the ABC store. So it's more, I'm on the way home, going to pick something up kind of thing. So, but Mr. Stewart can speak to the hours of operation and things of that nature.
Thank you, sir.
Chad Stewart, 417 South Brightly Boulevard, Smithfield, North Carolina, Johnson County ABC General Manager. Yes, traffic, when we chose this location, is a concern for us also, getting in and out. Obviously, for our customers, we want it feasible. From a standpoint that this lot has been looked at before I took this position a couple of years ago. I understand some other retail restaurants or whatnot had looked at this corner. It did have its challenges, my understanding. What we felt, the value that we bring are several things. As he said, we're not open on Sundays. I mean, this is pretty much a commercial lot at some point. A McDonald's, a drugstore, fast food restaurant. I believe we would be a better fit and neighbor. State law requires us not to be open on Sunday as it exists now. State law requires we cannot open before 9 or be open after 9 as it exists now. We, as it exists now, don't open our stores till 10. So I do think that it would work well with the school back there. I have been in more meetings than I desire in the last 2 years with the property, 75 acres behind it. I don't know where that's going to end up, but the meetings I've been in, there's an agreement, and Gary can allude to the fact that we're proposing to open it on the backside in the event that that becomes a so-called PUD, residential commercial property, where that'll be another access point to serve this. Somebody mentioned the Walmart shopping center, and that's kind of what we got, some space there to move around. We did a lot of due diligence in choosing this lot, knowing the challenge that we have, but I would say that being a corner lot in a commercial area, I think we probably bring the best fit with kind of how we operate, but be glad for any questions.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Any questions? Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. I'll turn it over to the board for their consideration.
The only thing I can not add, but I can say again, is I compare that with the existing one. And the existing one is a headache regardless of what time you want to go in there, especially if you're going west. This is a lot better. I heard something about this last year. And I was looking for something to happen there, and then the sign went down, and I figured somebody killed it. But it seems to me this would be a lot better place than the one right down the street.
Sure.
Yes, thank you. And that is a very big challenge of ours also. We built a store when I came on board a couple of years ago at 4042. We're building the same store at other areas of the county. I know it's not the most popular topic in town and the need for schools and whatnot, but ABC, and it can be a longer conversation, but it does bring back a lot to your town, to the state, to the community, to the school system. And the more sales we generate, the more we can give back. And this, from my understanding, don't have solid numbers, but it's going to be a 10,000 square foot store with the same model that we're building. It's 8,500 everywhere else. It is badly needed. Clayton store still carries the top sales in the county out of a shoebox. The staff is worked to death. We are limited on product we can carry. The wreck 8-car pileup and the many others that we have that's challenging our emergency services and whatnot into town, we lost $10,000 in sales. I mean, it's absolutely mandatory that we get out of that situation. And on the good note, that piece of property could be available for, you know, a better use somewhere in Clayton or developers, or we'd be glad to work with Clayton in any way we can when it's time to move out and move in. But I think it's with everything included, and the traffic is what it is. But once again, I agree 100%, and it's costing us in many areas when we have a pile up, not including harm to vehicles, harm to people, bad eye and bad look on us, but a cost of sales. So thank you for the consideration.
Thank you. Thank you. Before we submit a motion, I just want to make sure the correction on the size of the property that we're voting on is here 15.76, but the gentleman said it was a little over or a little less than 2 acres. Just want to make sure we're correct on that.
Yes, it's actually 1.63. My apologies for the
1.63,
typo.
okay, make sure for the record, it's 1.63 acres, okay.
Thank you for that.
I'll entertain a motion.
All right, I make a motion to approve. That this is consistent with future land use map. I make the motion to recommend approval of this rezoning request based on consistency with the future land use map in the adopted 2045 comprehensive growth plan, and that the property is classified as high-density residential with a community center overlay in the future land use map. Policy LU 1.1 indicates that the town will manage future growth and encourage quality development through the implementation of the comprehensive plan, the Unified Development Code, and other plans and regulations adopted by the town council. Policy LU 1.6 indicates that the town will promote location and intensity of the development that mitigates impacts to the transportation network and leads to the reduced vehicle trips and/or shorter trip lengths, enhanced circulation, and increased public safety. This action is reasonable and in the public interest, in that the comprehensive growth plan encourages commercial uses in this area, and the request is compatible with existing zoning and land uses in the area.
We have a motion. We have a motion by Board Member Dupree to recommend 2023-176-RZ Clayton ABC store rezoning of 1.63 acres. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Board Member Applewhite. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion passes. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is new business, the 2024 Planning Board meeting schedule. Presenter is Planning Director Omido.
Chair Moore, in your packets, you have the 2024 schedule. There's, off the top of my head, while that's being pulled up here, there are 2 meetings that are different than your normal schedule. That's going to be in November and in December to just work around the Thanksgiving holiday and the Christmas holiday of 2024. Yes, we are planning that far ahead. So the town clerk would like this schedule to be approved by the board. What's that?
Sir, the schedule that was sent out, there's not a December meeting at all?
Sorry.
Hello? There's not a December meeting at all?
For which one, I'm sorry?
December.
There is going to be a meeting. Give me 1 minute.
sorry,
Let's pull up
I'm
the,
sorry.
That's applications.
I'm sorry. Sorry. Misread it.
Okay, we got it. Thank you.
All right, thank you for your patience. So what you can see here is we've got the November 19th and December 17th. Just wanted to bring that to your attention. That's going to be not the 4th, but the 3rd Tuesday of those months. We've also moved the May meeting date because of the Memorial Day weekend holiday. Everything else is going to be on the 4th Monday of the month at 6 p.m. for 2024.
All right.
So we would ask that if you all are okay with this, to entertain a motion and approve this so we can have this calendar adopted.
Okay, I'll
Thank you.
entertain a motion to approve the 2024 meeting dates of the planning board.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Board Member Applewhite to approve. Second by Board Member Powers. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chair Moore. If I may, to thank Board Member Stephen Powers for his service. Thank you very much for your service. I understand you'll be leaving the board after today. This is your last meeting, so thank you very much. And then for Chair Moore, you all will be having 3 new members joining you in your January meeting, and that's where you'll be electing or voting for a new chair and a vice chair, and also our town clerk will be coordinating any swearing in ceremony as needed. So those are all staff's updates. Thank you, Mr. Powers, for your service.
And also, for those of you that weren't here at the November meeting, Board Member Bagley also is, she's stepping down from the board also. So she won't be returning in January. All right, so, yes. Well, thank you. If there are no other comments, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Board Chair Moore, if I may, I just wanted to, you want me to go to the,
No, I think we want to, you want to end the meeting first?
oh, do you want to do that? Sure, absolutely.
Motion to adjourn by Board Member Dupree. Second by Board Member Williams. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Meeting adjourned. One of the things, I think as soon as we adjourn, to cut the cameras off, right?